So here's how we're looking so far. I've built up the flowers a lot, I think, since the last time I showed you guys. I'm not really sure what the last thing I showed you guys is. But yeah, I've built up the dark values a lot, actually making the flowers like red, orange, the colors that they're supposed to be. This is actually supposed to be orange, but I was just using leftover paint from this one to sort of start laying in those darker values. So yeah, that's pretty much what I'm gonna be doing. I've been using a transparent red and a semi-opaque red to sort of build up those darker layers. I've mainly been using the transparent red to do like the shading parts here, mixing in with a little bit of black. That way I can slowly build up those transition shades to give it a more like realistic look instead of like the harsh color change like here, which has made it also a little bit more slow going because it's transparent layers and it's like slowly building it up, blah blah blah. But I'm really liking it so far, and it's been a couple of days, but it's been a few hours here and there, so I'm not really mad at how long it's taken. Um, so yeah, time to keep painting. I'm not gonna really worry about the highlights till like the end, just because once I have all the dark values in, it'll be a lot easier to gauge how light my highlights actually have to be, because working on a dark background can sometimes like change up how the color looks. Color theory, guys. But yeah, I'm really happy with how it's going so far. So let's keep painting. So this day I did a really big chunk of work. Besides covering areas that still needed a ton of paint, I also went back in and added highlights and deeper shadows to really amp up that contrast. Although I really liked how the painting was reading so far, from far away you couldn't really see that much of a difference between values, so it got kind of muddy in a way. So that's why I went back in and made sure that the shadows were a little bit deeper and making sure that my highlights were really bright. So besides like the push-in values, I had been keeping the painting somewhat simple, not really adding texture. Up until this point, I felt like adding this little bit of texture here would really push the painting over the edge to where I would really be satisfied with it, and I felt like it helped give it a little extra something. So here's how we're looking. I'm loving it so far. I fixed some of the patchy areas on this rose, which it really needed. I also added a little bit more darker values on this one, which I feel helps it read a little bit better and also transition from like a dark red to the dark blue. Because before I think it was just too light and the transition wasn't happening. And I've done a lot of progress on these. I think this one is pretty much done. I might add a little bit more lighter values here just because it feels kind of flat. And also this rose right here is pretty dark, so I feel like adding a little bit more highlights might help. This one's pretty much done as well. There's just some areas right here where I want to get it a little bit darker because it kind of just reads as like a blob kind of, and it's a little bit harder to see the values from far away, so I just want to make sure the readability is there. What else? I may or may not do a little bit more painting on this. I do like the sort of like harsh transition from color to dark. But there are some areas where I feel like I can maybe put a little bit lighter, add some highlights, just because everything is kind of the same value or the same color. So I want to give it a little bit more interest, especially considering how the other roses came out. And then after that, it's just finishing painting the leaves, which shouldn't really take that long. And then finally making the background this like solid dark blue kind of color. So I'm like pretty determined that I can finish it today. I feel like I can. I will. Just because I feel like if I give myself too much of a leeway where it's like, oh, well, I can spend another day on this, I feel like I'll never get to the point of finishing it. So that's what we're gonna do, and then that way I can also start new stuff. So yeah. Alright, let's keep going. So it is in fact the next day. I did not finish it last night, but I came pretty close. The only thing I have to do is do another coat of this dark black blue kind of color. Just because it is so patchy in some areas. I think I only did about 2-ish coats yesterday. So it's not that big of a deal. And then also adding paint to the edges. I started that already, but it's still pretty patchy in some areas. So I just want to make sure that's a solid color. And once I do that, the only thing left for me to do is add my signature and we're all done. I really love how the flowers turned out. I'm really happy with it. So yeah, let's keep going. And we are done. I am so happy with how it came out. I was a little bit worried at the start because it had been so long since I had painted something realistically with acrylic, but I think it worked out so beautifully. I love the dramatic lighting. I just have that love for like the Baroque kind of feel to paintings, and I think this worked out great. I think darkening up the background really helped with that. I also finished up painting the sides, and I added my little signature down here. So the only thing that's really left to do is let it dry for a couple of days before I can varnish it. I will also be taking some pictures of it, that way I can have it up as prints on my shop. But yeah, I am so happy with how this turned out. I think I will be staring at it for the next couple of days. But I'm just so excited to share this with people, to have somebody see it in person. Will be nice. Yeah, I am so proud of how it came out, and I don't know, I'm just gonna stare at it for a couple of days. But yeah, I hope you guys liked the video. I hope you guys liked the painting. As always, thank you so much for watching, and if you have any questions or anything like that, feel free to let me know. Yeah, thank you guys for watching. Bye! So I just want to show you guys how it looked like with the varnish afterwards. I think it just really added this extra depth that I love. I'll be honest and say I did use the wrong brush initially for the varnish. That's why there's some little bubbles. So it's not as smooth as I would like it, but I still really love how it came out.